bringing the party to you.
This was the moment of truth for Marvel. Again, it seems so minor in hindsight, but by God, everyone had lumps in their throats wondering if this is going to work. When Marvel assured us that this was happening, we didn't believe it. Even when Samuel L. Jackson kept popping up in each movie leading up to this, we still didn't know if this was going to work. Now, ensemble movies have been successful in times past, but those ensembles weren't comprised of characters who were headliners in their own franchises. Not until this point had it even been fathomed that you could combine these characters into one movie, still tell a well-balanced story without one character overshadowing the rest. How does one dodge that particular bullet? Well, you turn to the man who has considerable experience wrangling a huge ensemble cast with larger-than-life characters while still telling rollicking adventure stories. That's right, you get former geek god Joss Whedon. Yeah, I said former. Damn it, Joss, you were supposed to be one of the good ones. Anyway, at this point, Whedon had a solid reputation for wrangling large-scale television shows with large ensemble casts, and Firefly is the best example of this gift. It also helped that Whedon had a strong reputation as a comics writer, so fans breathed a welcome sigh of relief upon this announcement. Now, so much has already been said about this film's merits, of which there are many, so let's focus on the impact this film has had, both positive and negative. First, oh, look at that beautiful box office, it's so pretty! Now, sure, banking was a far-gone conclusion for this movie. It's one thing to go into the profit margin, but it's another thing entirely to become this crazy huge juggernaut of a film. One that continued to do some pretty heavy bank even after its release. Cynics like to think that there's no real correlation between the quality of a film and how much money it makes, and sadly to an extent that is true. Ugh. So, if the Avengers turned out to be just okay quality-wise, it probably would have been a modest, if not boner-inspiring success. But as it is, when the incredibly positive buzz was generating around this film before and after its release, people flocked in droves to see it, and it became a brand new standard in event filmmaking. And I'm not just saying that because it sounds epic. This film quite literally created a new wave of franchise filmmaking in Hollywood. Pretty soon, every studio, be it TV or movie, needed to have their own shared universe. Some successful, some moderately, and some were more desperate than the NRA trying to discredit a school shooting survivor without sounding like a heartless asshole. It can safely be assumed that the studios keep thinking that the solo movies are just an obligation to get the intended audiences all hot and tempted in anticipation for the big show. You see, that's where they're wrong. The Avengers was just the payoff to the audience. The real show was the build-up, as it should be. Phase 1 of Marvel was, at the very least, able to keep a consistent quality about it, enough to keep the audiences intrigued, and even with some of the speed bumps they had with The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 2, we were still emotionally invested because these movies still devoted just the right amount of time to make us want to be invested. Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America had all proven themselves to be characters worth investing our time and money on, and the world that we were being introduced to was so new and so grand that we just couldn't resist. The reason all the other universes are still struggling to make a similar impact is because their impatience is depriving beloved characters of a chance to be beloved on their own terms. We can't be excited about a crossover if we don't give a shit about the characters we're crossing over. To repeat, that's where the Avengers worked. It had a strong foundation to build off of. We cared about each of these characters, and this film was essentially a bonus for our devotion and patience. What's even more impressive is that though we are excited to see how the action unfolds when we combine these characters, the thing we really wanted to see was how they interact. They're all larger-than-life personalities, but they're also drastically different personalities with their own methods. Cap is all about the tactics, and he's all about the mission. Tony has a freewheeling approach with a do-what-feels-right demeanor. Being Asgardian, Thor naturally feels more evolved than the rest, and as such, feels that his methods are the better way to go. And Banner really doesn't want to be there. Meanwhile, for the two characters we're just getting to know, Natasha has always been able to keep emotion out of the equation, but when she finds out that her closest friend has been compromised, she can't help but take this personally. While we only get to see Hawkeye's skill set in this one, we still get just enough to see that this is a guy who's perceptive enough to make the call to spare a life when he needs to. And the fact that we're able to get all of this and yet still have time for massive battle scenes, it speaks volumes about all the way this film got it oh so right. While we could definitely hope that one day DC can finally find their mojo, no matter what happens, they're going to be compared to the MCU, and every major crossover is gonna be compared to the Avengers, and really, it's clear to see why.